Getty was something of a miser. He was a misanthrope, and he was a thoroughly unpleasant person to most people who knew him.
We have the charmless misanthrope. Then we have our Bud Light guy, who's the happy couch potato. And then
He's arguably the world's biggest misanthrope, and yet we just can't help but root for him.
To become a misanthrope and start to hate humanity. And, well, life is also pointless because I've been studying existentialism.
It made me, as a would-be fiction writer, feel stingy and misanthropic. I can barely tolerate my characters.
I mean, in the end, I don't think as misanthropic and dark as Orozco was.
I think he was, to a very high degree, misanthropic. And he hated some people more than others.
He had long ago discovered the truth that Jupiter created men during a fit of misanthropy, and that during a wise man's whole life, his destiny holds his philosophy in a state of siege.
But it's easier to do with the appropriate drink in hand at the right time of day.
As an app, use whatever one is most appropriate for what you're building. But we wanted to build an idiomatic, platform-embracing way to localize application.
And I think it's appropriate that we just have a few moments of prayer together over this message.
Causes of seasonal flu and the flu vaccination campaigns are appropriate in the U.S. There's always ways to improve that and always innovations that can make seasonal flu vaccination coverage better.
A large enough audience to make it all seem appropriate and successful. So I guess I would urge you to reach out to her, and then she'll reach out to us.
He did so, and the Congress refused to appropriate any money for these bird refuges, and after a while they all just sort of dried up, and their refuge status was revoked.
Acted on appropriately by the sales folks, was being acted on appropriately by the sales folks, and we were intervening immediately if it wasn't.
They reacted appropriately. They were incredibly upset, and they said, "What have we done here?"
Devin will have about 2,500 men, so you can understand why appropriately he decides to sit back. He has to actually go
to measure the appropriateness of school textbooks and healthcare information and so on. They really
determine the appropriateness of bargaining units for labor organization representation.
We want to communicate is that, there's an appropriateness to technology. Despite all the kind of innovation, we still have to exercise judgment.
Seeing the appropriation bills are coming out with even more reductions. Some of that may be for posturing and negotiations.
You can no longer do a federal appropriation earmark. And so then we approached the state of Minnesota for bond funds.
They need 7 days to conference, from committee chairs, appropriations chairs, leaders. That puts you to Monday or Tuesday.
So it's marked against the appropriation because somebody keeps track of all of this. And I was surprised by that because
The lighter the boat, the more versatile it would be, and the less investment of resources it would require.
You've had a very versatile career. I mean, you've been in many movies, lots of television.
Complex the organism, generally speaking, the more versatile.
Familiar and fluid, with the added versatility of a digital tool.
For a few days.
It has the versatility of being able to treat structures outside the brain.
Because I do love the versatility that African Americans have created.
I hope that the quiz has had a salutary effect on bringing to people's attention the degree to which they live in a bubble that seals them off from an awful lot of their fellow American citizens.
Theme change. And I don't think our experience has been particularly salutary. The overthrow of Diem in Vietnam, what did that lead us to?
Sun salutation. So we're going to step or hop the feet back to plank.
And then, when you quiet down, I will begin the salutation. Madam.
He ends it with a very, like a salutation. And he says, "And to India, our much-loved motherland, the ancient..."
But just, was there a negligence by the gun shop?
2008, how scared we were and angry at the banking industry's blatant negligence, arrogance, and greed.
If something happens with that data due to your fault or your negligence in keeping it safe, I should have the right to a recourse to sue you for
for getting my information out.
No logical distinction between extremely careless and grossly negligent, nor did he explain why there is one.
We would be negligent if we did not adapt our oversight of foreign banking operations that include these very large broker-dealers.
We were very negligent before. Well, I can't tell you how much we enjoy having both of you on program today.
That if she negligently handled top secret information, she was liable for prosecution. So that's what the FBI and Justice.
She began to treat her work negligently, and soon she was fired.
Not even negligently, because maybe we didn't know, but it is true. We get to pass on to our children the accrued benefits of everything we did.
He was fine. His blood alcohol level was negligible. They were all set to release the child. And
it's not negligible. The difference that I found in my research is the difference between going to graduate school and not going to graduate school for college women.
And man's effect on climate change is negligible, and being gay is a choice.
At one point, you know, it'll become negligible, and you can add up the total amount of carbon that we've ever released